Good morning, Andrea. Today
Good
we're
morning.
talking about Curious Caterer. Was this a gourmet, festive extravaganza, or did we wake up with a bad case of food poisoning?
I thought you were going to use like a foiled plan. So you missed it. You missed the opportunity, Eric.
Well, what are you talking about? It was a big, festive meal thing. I nailed it. I nailed
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Well, this is Eric,
This is Andrea.
and this is Hallmark Mysteries and
And
more.
more.
This podcast was created by fans for fans and is not affiliated with or sponsored by Hallmark or the Hallmark channel.
All right. A little recap of the movie. Goldie Berry's medieval feast at Hyde Castle gets interrupted by a murder. She teams up with Detective Schultz to solve the mystery before the murderer strikes again. Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. Well,
So I
yes.
am curious to know. I mean, I can only imagine what you thought of this movie.
Well,
So, do you want to go first or do you want me
well,
to?
we know what you did because you share yours.
Oh, my
And
ranking changed actually. I've changed it.
interesting. Well, I found your, well, I guess, Well, now I'm all stumbled because I was going to say I was just very surprised because I know this hadn't been your favorite series, and then you gave it such a glowing review. I'm guessing upon further review, either you love it more or you found a bunch of the crazy inconsistencies in the story. So I will say I gave it a 4. So what is your revised ranking?
I
Because you
gave it
gave
a
it,
5.
you
I
upped
raised
it.
it.
You upped it. I was totally expecting you to say you watched it again, then you realized, oh no, this, that, or the other. I am shocked.
I can't believe I
Shocked.
ranked this higher than you. I'm shocked at that.
Yes, well, we'll get into it. We will definitely get into it. I will say one of the things that I think was maybe, well, definitely the highlight of the year for me was the intro. That little exchange between Goldie and Marla at the very beginning. I thought that really was going to go into the mystery. I loved their little play acting there and then how they just broke out and laughed. It just really exemplified their relationship. And as you know, the thing I love the most about this series
It's
is
Marla.
that relationship between Goldie uh and Marla. It's kind of goes back to what I know. I like the flower shop mysteries way more than you. And it's just with Abby and Nikki, I love the two of those two together. I think they're just hilarious. And then you throw in, the hunky guy on top of you. You got Brennan there, but you have Andrew on this one. So, but just that dynamic between Goldie and Marla, just to start with that, just put me in a good mood. So it was going to be very hard for me not to enjoy this movie. And I just found it a whole lot of fun. um, I think that, if I went through and I started nitpicking in the story, there were a lot of weird inconsistencies, things that didn't quite make sense for me, but the story was just so good. The characters, I had so much fun with the characters that all that little nitpicky stuff just didn't bother me. Like I said, I don't think it was the and this is why I gave it the 4 instead of 5. I didn't think it was the most tightly written mystery. So that was sort of my main complaint. Like, the butler. Why would I be a suspect? My boss was just killed. Duh, that's exactly why you are the suspect. You don't like your boss, and now he's dead. Gerard gets shot in the arm, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, if it's a half inch over, you'd be dead. He's in his arm. It's not even like he's in his chest and he's up and wandering around, hey son, let's go, and stuff like that. So like a lot of those little things, or the biggie for me was Alistair stabbed and he's dying and he walks into the banquet room and is like, ladies and gentlemen, I brought you together. Like he's keeling over and dying. I think he would just get the like, go get Jared. He just stabbed me in the back, not like I'm going to make my big announcement. So like those little things that kept it from being the 5. But then I can roll into the fact, like I said, I just think the characters in this were fantastic. I love how they continued the evolution. I really liked the fact that, yes, we had all the teasing, and I don't even know if it was teasing. It was pretty much flat out admissions that the relationship between Goldie and Tom was going to be further along. And I love how they didn't dilly-dally. They didn't toy with us. They just came in and said, hey, we're starting this episode out, and yep, we're into each other. And I loved how they had those fireworks going. I think Mason was, he was still kind of a goofball, but he wasn't completely this inept character where he should not be allowed to be a police detective. I found it actually, this was like going back to Fatal Vows, where he could be like kind of funny and everything, but then he would go over the line and just sort of lose it. Whereas this time, like, when he's questioning Emma, like, so is that how you draw your boyfriend? I found that hilarious and stuff. So I really, really enjoyed it. The last thing I will say about it, and then you can go ahead, is I don't think I ever want to get invited to an Elk Park prep fundraiser, because we now have 3 murders that have taken place at these fundraisers for this prep school. I went to a prep school. We did not have a single murder the entire time I was in school. So I would avoid sending your kids to Elk Prep. Just a little bit of a parenting advice from me. All right. So now you go ahead and then we can debate a little bit. You tell me why you went from your 4, which shocked me, to
4.5.
5, which literally knocks me out of my chair.
Okay. Well, I actually wrote down like a paragraph. So when I take notes on this, sometimes my notes are like 2 sentences, but this one I have a chunk. So I changed it up to a 5. I watched it the first time. And again, same thing. I keep trying to watch with the commercials. Boy, does that kill a movie. I still like this. So that's why I knew I really was going to like this, because I still enjoyed it, even with the commercials, but it does make it tough sledding to watch.
Like the rom-coms, it does not bother me, right? I can watch the rom-coms with the commercials. But the mysteries just has such that fluidity to them that the commercials do. I told you way back when, you probably now will go back and you'll watch Dancing Detective and you'll give that a 5. You'll go back to Mystery Island, give that a 6. So
I've watched both of those twice, and
I don't want to hear it.
No, that's a no for both.
That's a little foreshadow, by the way.
Oh, yes. So I also loved the castle setting. I think that was spectacular, like the party theme. That's super entertaining. The movie, I thought it moved at a really good pace. Sometimes they feel like the pacing for these can get a little slow, or it can go so fast where we're like, wait, who is this again? And then we get lost. Where I felt like this had a good pace. I didn't get bored with it. I didn't even have, sometimes we'll have scenes where you're like, oh, it's a little slow, a little boring. This one just kept that nice chugging along pace. The storyline with introducing Tom's dad, I felt like that was the perfect like movie to introduce this plot point, and I really enjoyed that thread of being like, did I know that he was the one in the vent? Yes. Was that pretty obvious? I thought so, but I still enjoyed it. Like, you were still waiting for him to come on screen. Andrew and Nikki were just such a delight. The entire cast felt like they had so much fun making this movie. It was a great, huge ensemble cast. I can't believe they had that many background characters. Everyone dressed up. I think that really added to the movie, because sometimes, again, we've seen it where they shoot it and you're like, there's like 4 people in the room. But this one, it felt like, oh, there's a lot of people there. I thought that the side characters were not distracting to the main plot. I think they threw in them at a good pace. I don't think there was too many red herrings or people that I didn't care about. I think they developed the side characters just enough to be like, okay, they're interesting, but they're not giving us like a ton of information. So I thought that was great. The moving forward, as you had talked about with Goldy and Tom's relationship, again, we're not spinning our wheels, which is what sometimes in mysteries we keep spinning the wheels of, are they, or will they not, what's happening. So I love that they move that relationship along. I noticed like the howling wind and the fireplace crackling noises. Did you notice that in the castle?
Yeah.
I love
Actually,
that.
I noticed the fireplace, not the wind.
Oh yeah, they had that all. And so it felt like you were there. So I really enjoyed the sounds, whatever. I don't know what that's called in the, when they make the movies, but they did a really good job with the sound quality. At one point, so when I was watching it live, because of the wind and the fireplace, all of a sudden I hear cats fighting, like cats. And I'm like, huh, they're putting cats in this movie? This is weird. So I paused the movie, and this is live, and I'm like, oh, there's cats fighting outside my window. So there was like
I was really about to say, I do not recall cats fighting in this
well,
movie.
because the sound was so like brought you into the movie. At first I was like, well, this is weird that they have cats randomly fighting each other. And, again, so I press pause, and then I look outside my window, and there was our local stray cat was fighting, someone's cat got out. And so our neighbor's cat got out. So they were fighting each other right in front of my car on the street. And so I was like, oh, that's funny. So I had to pause the movie, quick yell at the cats to break up their fighting. And, the neighbor got their cat back in. But all of that helped me, because pausing the movie, then I got to go, you got a little behind. So then you could kind of fast forward. So I think that helped as well when I was watching it live, just that little pause, give me 5-minute break. I got to fast forward through one commercial break. And so all of that, I think, really lands to the experience of this movie. Even like the fall from the window, like that was an intense, like, I don't know if I want to see that scene too much. And I thought, Nikki played that really well of like, like, oh gosh, I saw that and I don't want to see again. And even as a viewer, I was like, yeah, that's a long way down. I thought they filmed that really well. So all of those pieces landed really well for me. I mean, a good costume party, that does it for me. And this
100% agree.
This just is like best one of the series by far for me. And I just was having this discussion with Georgia in the DMs about how this one, so this series as a whole for me was
right
on, as a whole. It's okay. It wasn't my favorite. It wasn't one that I hated. It was just there. This movie, I think it propelled it up to being like, yes, I'm excited to see the next movie. Just like I am for Hannah. I'm excited to see where they take that. I'm excited now. We have Tom's dad in the picture, which was Mauricio from the Morning Show Mysteries. He plays that chef. I love him as an actor. So
that's where he is.
So I was very excited to see him introduced as Andrew's dad in these movies. So looking forward to seeing him again on screen. So all of that really played well for me to kind of set up this next movie and see where they take it.
So I'm a little different, and I was actually disappointed that his dad turned out to have been framed and was a good guy, because I thought one of the things that really lent to the fabric of Tom was having this dad who was, a murderer and in jail for a heinous crime, and he had to live with that. And they sort of just Hallmarkized it, I guess, and made, oh no, Tom's dad actually is this wonderful good guy who just got framed, and Gerard, Barack's bad guy, he's the real, bad dad kind of thing. So I wish they had left his dad there, because I just think that backstory was far more compelling. But it was okay. It was there. I also, though, why is he like sleeping in some cot in this little room if he's Alistair's guest in this huge, massive castle? Why is he not in?
Because he escaped from prison, so he had to hide. Because if you saw him, people were going to take him back.
Yeah.
Like people there knew who
castle.
he was.
He could just say, "Don't go in that part of the castle."
But
so,
do people listen? Did you watch Father of the Bride? Like George Banks wanders off and goes into rooms that he shouldn't. Like it just happens.
And Goldy so the other thing, you kind of mentioned this earlier, and this is one of my things. I always talk about how Christopher Palaha is just the best actor, skill set actor in Hallmark land. I do think Nikki is one of the just best actors as well on the female side. I think she is just extremely talented. Why I love all of them, and I enjoy them for this, that, and the other. But if you just get to the actual acting chops, I think Nikki's one of the better, and that's probably. And when I talked to her, that's what I talked to her about. Is like she always gets the big dramatic tearjerker things at Christmas versus the fun, lighthearted, silly stuff. And I think it's because of her skill in that aspect. So I
100%.
thought that when you say like her reaction, and it's funny because I had that in my notes. I didn't know how to explain it, but there was just like a lot of little things that she was doing this that were her reactions to things that I was just like, she's just creating such a good character and such a good experience. And going back to your point too, the castle costume party, yeah, I mean, just sold right there, right? Just too fun. But not only was it the costume party, which they did go all out with their costumes, right? But they also had the winter aspect. So they didn't show up in their like North Face parka over their costume. He had his whole
Yes.
like,
The
whatever
shawl.
why am I going brain to Jon Snow big winter, animal coat thing on when he's out there and everything. So I found that kind of funny that they came prepared not just for indoors, but also for outdoors. And I could not help watching the movie after talking to Nikki, JC, and Andrew, going, they're wearing the same clothes this entire shoot. And like for some reason, I just found that absolutely fascinating. So, but
Oh, what about the
now
mystery? How did you?
Olive
Okay.
did get to change because she had her little sword fighting outfit on and
Oh
then
yeah.
switched there. But the main characters were all just in costume. So,
What about the mystery itself? What did you think? Was it
like I
twists and
said,
turns or
like the mystery itself, I liked the whole premise of it. I had fun with it. Kind of, I don't know if you DM'd me it or if it was in your little, your review there. I knew who it was just because it was when he came on, it just, that character
you
just
just know?
didn't fit, right?
Right.
There's this kind of that thing like, oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And I did like I say, it's just like a lot of the little things. And it didn't get in the way of my enjoyment at all. But
No,
I just
same.
think the mystery itself was not as tight as the story. Like Gerard, why is he like going out of his way to help? He just killed someone. It seems like he would be purposely being more difficult, not, hey, I'm going to run out to my car and go get the pads of paper to help you investigate
Yeah, to
this, right?
throw
He
him
would just
off
be like,
his scent. That's what you
he
do.
would just be like, yeah, but he could just be like, oh yeah, we don't have any stuff. He doesn't have to go out of his way to do it. And it wasn't like it would draw attention to him. So I just thought that, and maybe it's because I knew that's who it was. So I was more attuned to what his behaviors were. So I don't know. Like I said, I thought and we've talked about this before. In fact, I even asked Nikki that question when we talked to her. Like, there's the different kinds of mysteries. There's the ones where you have just that great story, and then there's the ones where you have sort of that really good mystery. And it's kind of we talked about that for like Crime Time versus Crimes of Fashion, right? There's the Crime Time was just a really good story, and Crimes of Fashion was a good mystery. And so I put this more in that Crime Time. It's just a really good story, a lot of fun. The mystery, I went along, and it was entertaining. I didn't, the red herrings that they sort of put in weren't convincing. And like I never was questioning or doubting myself. Kind of like, once again, I'll go back to Crimes of Fashion, where we both thought like, oh, it could be him, but nah, it can't be him, and talked ourselves out of it. There was never that moment in this particular one. What about you?
Yeah, I mean the same. I think that they like, and again, it didn't draw me away from the movie because I had wrote that in my review. I mean, literally, as soon as they showed the gun and showed him, exiting his car, I was like, "Up, he did it!" Like it just had that feel to it. And again, it didn't distract me, from the movie. It was still because I think they had, Tom's dad, that element threading through. I think that was what was intriguing, is like, how are they going to thread this all together? Obviously, I assumed he was connected to Tom's dad just because we knew that they knew each other. And I was just kind of, that was kind of the ending plot or the ending mystery I was excited to see is let's unravel this. Let's get him. I'm assuming he was the one who did it and framed Tom's dad. That's what it, kind of all set up to. But I just wanted to get to that point. So that was kind of more of the mystery that I was intrigued by. And then obviously seeing Tom's dad and like how are they going to interact? And I think we're going to see, hopefully see more of that in the next movie. And hopefully he'll be on screen and we get to have more dynamic there. And I'm sure Hallmark likes to do that. A lot of these movies have a parent or, even someone like another just kind of C character that they can rely on. Pretty much all of the Hallmark mysteries that I'm even just Rolodexing through that have had more than 3 episodes, they start to introduce these characters if they're not in the first ones. And so I'm excited to see him kind of come in, and I'm sure he'll be able to help solve crimes because that's his background as well. Yeah, that was kind of the one for me. I do have a take, but I'm gonna save it for the romance. I'm just gonna be curious what you think about one character in particular. Really, I didn't like how they evolved him, but I'm gonna save it for the romance. So
You ready to roll into romance?
yeah, let's hear what you thought about romance.
Okay, my romance, it was an Oprah episode because you get romance, you get romance, you get romance, we all get romance. Everybody, even Mason and Emma. You got, now is this character named Brock or is the actor named Brock? But Brock and Marla, you had the two of them.
Track.
Okay.
Dave
Yeah,
Track.
Brock is his real name. I mean, imagine that. Your real name is Brock, and yet you get an even more whatever testosterone name, right?
Track.
So you got Track and Marla, and then obviously you have Goldy and Tom. Heck, you even had Olive and her little fencing buddy there. Like everybody had romance going on. So I thought that was good. The one thing I have, and it was one of the things I absolutely loved, and I'm going to twist this around it because we got to drop a little Brooke Burns in here. But in Gourmet Detective, they had their little one like impromptu kiss right in the middle of that like high tension moment where you had Goldie and Tom come together. I think it was twice throughout there where they're like, it may have even been 3 times in each other's arms. They're right there. I wish they would have just done the little kiss and then had the big finale kiss like they did. And once again, I'll go to Gourmet Detective. I thought the way that they unrolled their like romance was brilliant. They had that little kiss, but then they're walking down the street and then they had the real payoff kiss that we're all looking for. So I would have loved that because they had that tension there. We knew that they wanted to do it. There was no reason not to do it. So once again, it's a little thing. I would have liked to have it, but no big deal. And also I'll go back to Track sniffing Marla's hair.
That was so weird. That was so weird.
Yes.
That was weird.
But it was like her reaction.
Not cute. It was weird. Like they didn't go anywhere after it. I was expecting it to come back in at some point and then I would be on board with that. But it was really weird.
Yeah, I will say, but you know what? I'll be honest. If I was right there with Marla next to me, I may sniff for her too. I know. What can you, Marla makes you do weird things. But I just love Marla's reaction to it was exactly that. Like, you just freako sniff my hair, right? Like she was beautiful in that. So that was awesome. All right. What about you? You got a big reveal here. This is probably a bigger surprise than what the mystery was.
I don't know if I commented on this in my review or not, just because I don't put all of the things I think in the review. But so Tom and Goldie, you know me, I'm not the relationship. Right. I love Andrew and Nikki separately, together again, romantic vibes. I just have a tough time getting them in a romantic vibe situation in my brain. They just again seem like brother sister. And that's a me thing. I know it's not just me, but there's a few others who think the same. That's how, so I have a tough time with them when they're in the romantic. I'm just like, oh, it just feels so wrong. But I mean, for sure they have chemistry, whether it be friend chemistry, romantic chemistry, however you see it, they definitely have chemistry with each other. So that wasn't necessarily what I'm interested or intrigued by. So Marla and Track, Track, not truck. So Track, the first movie he was introduced, which was the last movie, he felt like just this bad boy, just
Right.
like this super edgy guy. And, like this movie, he felt like kind of a shell of himself. Like he was very much a softer character. I even had to look up to see if it was the same actor because he was playing it so different from the last movie to this movie. I just felt like I preferred him the last movie. Not sure what that says about me. Clearly have a
No,
bad boy thing.
I 100% agree with you. 100% agree with you.
I'm like, he lost some of that, like, just the part that I enjoyed about him. And I feel like he just felt just like, this movie. And if your dad, ends up being the one who killed people, which he did at the end, like, I felt like there just should be more to this character than we got from him. So that was kind of my one beef is his character in particular. I did not like how they evolved him. I know we had talked about Mason, how we liked how we softened Mason down so he wasn't this caricature of himself and just this goofy guy. I don't like how they've softened him down so much. It's too much from where we started. I didn't mind where we started, take it down maybe a little, but I didn't mind that character. What they have softened him to seems almost unbelievable. Like, how did he go from that to this in one movie? It just doesn't seem to track for me.
Doesn't seem to track for you.
I know. Didn't even try that.
I 100% agree with you. In fact, I had that in my notes as well. I wasn't really sure where to stick it in. That he had that bad boy. There was that just that tension, that competitiveness between Tom and him. It just, and it should have still been there. Like,
yeah, there was no tension between him and Tom.
and
that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then that was also like the thing with Goldie, kind of like in the bad boy, which we made comment at the end of, Fatal Vows of like, oh, I mean, did I say Goldie? Marla.
Yeah.
Marla, like, all right, Marla, I see where you go with this. And then you're right. It just was, yeah, he's a hair sniffer, right? So that's exactly the opposite of you expect him to be rolling up on his Harley and his big,
leather jacket
kind of thing. Right. And the only thing I will say, I thought his reaction when you saw that moment when he realized, no, my dad did do this. I thought he did that actual scene there. Great. Other than that, I totally agree with you. I don't know what, like, it seems like they forgot to write him, right?
Yeah.
But like he's in here, but we're not going to bother any character for him because we're focusing on all these others, which, like I said, I mentioned earlier, they did such a good job with all these characters. But you're right, he's kind of like the forgotten boy of the whole thing. So
and maybe because like
with you.
his dad is intense, so maybe they thought, maybe Hallmark thought, hey, we can't have two of these really intense masculine
But
characters.
that was like one of the great things was that tension between him and Tom.
And so I'm like, they kind of missed the boat because again, having now them flip-flop, like whose dad is going to prison, like that should be some tension between Tom and Track. Like that should be there. And that we missed some like jokes or just some like banter that could have been really exciting.
And there's such the opportunity too, like, oh, Tom, your bad dad escaped jail, right? What a perfect time to, I was going to say, stick him with a dagger and twist it, get him with the foil, right? It was a perfect time to like dig at him. And you're right, they missed. So 100% agree with you.
Well, what about characters that you enjoyed? What was your character corner stick out?
Would you like to guess?
Marla?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
It's Marla. Of course.
You went super obvious.
I can't help it. Yes, I think the only thing like less transparent than my crush on Marla is, Brooke Burns. But other than that, yes, I adore this woman. She did not let down. I thought she was fun. I thought she could have had a little bigger role. Nikki did tease us that in the 5th episode, which she kind of, even though it's not announced, she kept saying again and again.
Sticks and Scones, that's what it's called. It was on IMDb.
That was the original name of this one.
Really?
And then they switched it to Foiled. Yeah, I asked actually JC about that before we started recording, and that's what she told me. I know. I thought that's what I thought.
Because on IMDb, I was like, oh, that's the next one. I like that title.
But I thought she was great. And, it's funny. The two things that other than her adorableness that really stuck out for me was, once again, they referenced her being a florist. And that's been one of my things. Like, it goes back to that first one, like, whatever happened? And we joked to her about it, and talked to her, like, whatever happened to you being the florist? And she still is a florist. And so she clearly, just multi-gigs it and helps out Goldie with her business, but she still has her florist. But apparently she's also a forensic accountant in her spare time as she's going through reading all these old ledgers and finding out this, elaborate, bribing schemes and payoffs and all of the double booked things. Who knew Marla? Well, I did, of course, but who else knew Marla was so talented? So you just have to appreciate such a gifted, talented woman.
Well, I'm going to give two characters. My first is a little shout out to the Baron. I really enjoyed the Baron. I thought he played that role perfectly. Was he the killer? Was he not? I loved his robe
Wait,
and
wait, wait. Did
crown.
you ever think he was the killer?
No, but
Right. See,
still
that's the
enjoyed
thing.
him.
That's where the mystery, they should have at least, they didn't even put a doubt. So that's the thing.
Not
They
really.
could have at
I
least
still
put a
enjoyed
doubt.
him as an actor. So that's my little shout out.
What's
My
wait,
main
wait,
one.
what else was he in? Because you recognize people from everything. Was he in anything?
No, I don't think so. I was wondering if I'd ever seen him, and I was like, I don't think so. I didn't look him up though on IMDb to see if he was.
Okay.
But yeah, I enjoyed him. My main though character, which we haven't even discussed this character today, Richard. I think he was the last time we did a Curious Caterer. You like Marla, I like Richard. So, his role was small, but I thought he played that coroner role with perfection. Every time he would come on, it brought some entertainment. And, Tom's like, yeah, look at the eyes. No, like, I don't want to look at
Right.
the
I'm an
eyes. It's like,
orthopedic surgeon. I
what?
don't want to. Yeah, you're
Look
right.
at a dead person's eyes. So I just really enjoyed him bringing the comedy. And I also, when his daughter got in trouble with the boy when they were kind of going around, and then he said, all right, kids, come on, let's go somewhere and be bored together. I was like, I laughed out loud both times I watched it. I'm like, that is, again, as a parent, especially with teens, no phones at this place. Like, of course they're going to be bored. And I love how he kind of played at that, like, let's go get bored together, kids, and they were playing pool. I found all of that just to be entertaining every time that he was on screen. So for me, he was my standout. Pretty much every movie he's in for these Curious Caterers, he really, really is the standout character for me.
So I looked up Baron right now, and he's mostly in as a stunt. He's a stunt guy. So he was in
Interesting.
Virgin River as a stunt guy. Because I
Oh,
saw Virgin River, I'm like, oh, and it's like stunt thing. But he's got
interesting.
138 stunt credits and
Wow.
44 actor credits, of which one of them, of course, is Mystery 101, where he was a judge in what episode? In Killer Timing. So Killer Timing. So that means he's probably the Wolfman judge, I would guess. So, but yeah, he hasn't been in a bunch of like Hallmark movies. He was in Dream Moms, but other than that, I don't really see him in a bunch of things. So we are forgiven for not recognizing him, unless you don't recognize the stunt people from Virgin River.
So much. Well, what trivia do you have for us today?
The
I
only
feel like
thing
that was kind of trivia that you just provided us.
the only trivia I have really is and we'll talk about it in 1 second, well, not 1 second, a couple minutes, but Tip Line, the new mystery with Holland and Chris coming out, which takes place in Detroit, but Riley Davis, Mason, our character Mason, is one of I don't know if he's primary. He's pretty high up on the actor list there. So he is going to be in that upcoming mystery as well.
Ooh, I like
It'll
it.
be interesting to see what he's like in another role. Is he silly? Is he goofy? Or does he play serious? I have no idea what range this guy has because I only know him as Mason. So I'm excited to see Riley Davis in hopefully a completely different role. I hope he's not a silly sidekick.
Well, my trivia I pulled from IMDb. I have two trivias about this movie. So Tom's father has escaped from a prison called Millhaven. There is no Millhaven prison in the US where the movie is set, but there is one in Canada where this movie is actually filmed. So fun fact.
And the writers are Canadian, so
They probably knew. Second fun fact, the castle scenes were filmed at Hatley Castle on Vancouver Island in Canada. And the castle seems to be used quite a bit for movie and TV filming. So here are some other movies that were filmed there. Deadpool in 2016,
no way.
Descendants in 2015, and X-Men First Class 2011. So I believe I remember seeing it, and of those, I think the only one I've seen is X-Men. And I'm like, oh, I do remember that castle. That's so cool.
100, right, I agree with you. Like you went through, I'm like, I don't remember it in Deadpool, Descendants, and I don't remember it there. But as soon as you said X-Men, I'm like, wait, I remember the castle, and I'm assuming it's that castle.
Yeah, and it looked fun. So what a gorgeous place.
Maybe we'll do our next episode from there.
I have to get my passport updated. I still don't have my married name, and I've been married for almost 10 years.
Well, your passport's probably expired anyhow.
Oh, it is. It's expired, and it doesn't have the right name on it. So I got to get that updated.
And you live in a border state. Jeez.
I know.
I guess you don't really cross the border going up to Canada very much there in Minnesota, do you?
No, I mean, not unless you're going on a boundary water trip, which I do want to do. Just not with my kiddos. That's going to be a solo, not a solo. I'll bring people with me. Too scared of bears.
Boundary water trip. I don't even know what that is.
Oh, the Boundary Waters up in Minnesota. It's like this gorgeous, super remote area. You carry in whatever you're going to keep with you. So you're camping. So whatever you have on your back, that's what you're sleeping in. You got to bring like bear spray because there are bears. Like you got no cell phone service. You are canoeing and hauling the canoe over your head. And whatever food you have, that's it. There's no like, hey, we forgot something. We're going to need to get it. Like that's it. You got to make it or find some fresh berries.
Nice.
So
very nice.
Trip of a lifetime. Well, I would love to know your Hallmark and chill. What movie did this remind you of, if any? Or show?
Seriously? Yeah. It's Gourmet Detective. Eat, drink, and be buried.
That's why I didn't pick that one, because I knew you
right?
would.
It's now I would love to say is it as good? It actually probably is. I'm just I'm just biased at Gourmet Detective that I have a hard time saying it, but I think you're right. So I won't actually say it. I'll just nod in agreement with you. But because that was not my favorite of the series. It's still pretty good and a lot of fun. And
what was your favorite for Gourmet?
I think the actual first, just Gourmet Detective. And then what was the third one called when they I don't know.
I like the wellness retreat one.
Yes.
Of course I do. That's always my favorites of all of the movies.
Yeah. Well, we will have to at some point get into a whole Gourmet Detective, which I cannot believe a year and a half of this podcast and we have not reviewed Gourmet Detective.
You haven't?
No, all to do is talk about how great it is.
Oh, that's funny. Well, that should be on our list then. Both of us love it.
Well, I promised Darla that when we get around to it, the dear Hallmark, that when we do a Gourmet Detective, because she is also a fanatical of Gourmet Detective, that she can be a guest on that episode. And it's just sort of been, it's so good.
Tease.
But yes, so for those who don't know, it starts out where they go to a costume party I don't think it's the same period. I think it's a little more recent, but turns out that Henry and Maggie are the only ones who actually wore their costumes because they actually canceled the costume party. And then there's a murder there and it's all takes place, but it's very fun. It's a similar type, a mystery rough thing. So if you enjoyed this one, I think you'll enjoy that one.
Well, don't you worry. There is a Murder, She Wrote episode. So season 3, episode 19.
Wait, I thought you said the very first episode.
No. There is for costume party. You asked me costume party. That is not the episode
That's what I was
thought
expecting.
No, that's not actually, you could totally do that. I didn't even think of that.
I'm glad I
So I'll
didn't
tell
watch
you
that
why.
episode then.
I'll tell you why I thought this episode. So I agree with you. So season 1, episode 1 and 2, Jessica Fletcher does do a costume party. Fun fact, that is the most like romantic she ever gets, is with the guy who ends up, spoiler alert, being the killer.
You
That
can't do a
is
spoiler alert of a show that's like 35 years old.
no, it's almost 40. We're celebrating
Okay.
the 40-year anniversary. Yes, I'm part of this group in like 130 days.
Okay.
But this one is actually Grady Fletcher is in big trouble, and that's her nephew, in case anyone doesn't know. When his boss is found dead and he is the main suspect. Why I thought this was similar? Because someone is hiding in the vents in New York City in this office building. And so Jessica finds the person. He is not the killer, just like in this movie. He is someone who just is down on his luck, and he's kind of stealing odds and ends. But he actually watched the murder take place because he was hiding in the vent. So that episode immediately came to mind. As soon as the vents were shown, I'm like, oh, this is, and I had to dig to find what season this episode was in. But I did. So in case anyone else enjoyed that episode,
Such a
season 3,
sleeper.
episode 19. Love,
You
I
know
know
what?
again.
You
Marty
just
Strode.
made me remember something that I had in my notes that I should say that didn't make my notes, but I meant to write down. So when Goldie finds Tom's dad, two things. Number one, why does he attack her if he's
That I
innocent?
don't know. I don't know about
Right?
that one.
That gets
Yeah.
back to my like inconsistencies of
Yeah.
the plot. It doesn't make sense why he would attack her.
Got scared. It's the only thing I could think of.
Goldie, I mean, it's not like it's Track or Gerard or something like that, right? Number two, kudos Goldie for that clocking him with the rolling pin. I love that. Just like he let down his guard and Goldie just thumps him. So Goldie, you're badass. That was awesome.
One of your other inconsistencies, that was one that I actually thought of earlier when you had talked about how he was stabbed and how he kind of stumbled into the dinner party. Because when they showed it, one of them, they showed him like kind of falling and like stuff happening. I'm like, well, there's no way that would actually, he would never actually come into the party if that's how he was after he got stabbed and do the spiel that he did. So that was a little inconsistent. If you watch that, that is the one thing I kind of was like, what? That doesn't track. That's not the same scene, and is, but that would never actually go together. So if I watched this movie twice, and both times I noticed, and then that second time I'm like, yep, I was right. That actually is not what they showed. So that was a little error, I think, on the part of the movie. So I am in agreement with you there, because it didn't throw me off enough to be like, oh, but I thought the same thing. Like, this person is not going to wander in there, give a spiel, especially after he went down in the hallway and like barely could move. And all of a sudden he's going to stand up, walk like he's completely fine, announce to the party, and then die.
Right.
Dramatic effect there.
100%. Right. I guess but I think those little things, they just don't worry about, because for the most part, people are not watching them like we watch them, where we're kind of watching with a notepad, taking, things. Though I do think a lot of people do that for some of the mysteries to keep track of characters. Because sometimes there's like so many characters, people want to like, okay, who's this person? So I do think some of our fellow sleuthers do that just to keep up with the mystery. So
I can see that.
did you have
what
any?
about I just did my poll. So I did my poll late last night, but actually I do have a good response to it already. So coming in last place, 0%, 1 out of 2, not the best. Nobody voted that. 4%, 3 out of 5, middle of the road. So that was just one person who voted middle of the road. 4 out of 5, 35%, 5 out of 5, 61%. So this was a heavily loved movie. I mean, we're talking almost everyone 4 or 5 stars. So I mean, I would say that this was a hit.
I agree. I think, back to what you said and how it kind of converted you, it was clearly the best of the series.
Yeah. And I liked the last one too, but this one I thought was even better.
And that's impressive for the fifth, because usually like the first one can be a little clunky, then you get rolling, and then by the fifth, there's kind of like, oh, how are we keeping it fresh? How do we keep it, we kind of talk about that with when we did garage sale, we talk about it. When we
Yeah.
did the
Aurora.
Aurora, right? That there's just like keeping it going. Granted, those are also like 18 type things, not 5, but to keep that going and just getting better, that's something that's pretty impressive.
100%.
All right, ready to talk
Well,
about what's coming up?
yeah. So we're going to do a little ranking of one-off movies that we want to see more of. So from the last couple years, the ones that we have seen, maybe just an episode of, like Cut Color Murder, Francesca Quinn, Haunted Harmony.
Funny how you chose those 3. Or Dancing Detective, Mystery Island.
Yeah, those two.
So, yes, so basically a range will be from Cut Color. We're not going to go all the way back to, Along Came a Nanny and things like that. These are the ones that basically post-pandemic that have a shot most likely at being picked up. So Cut Color all the way through Haunted Harmony. We're not going to include this year's because those ones are too soon to be making like, oh no, they're not giving us another episode or anything like that. We also, while we've heard some scuttlebutt, if it has not been officially announced, we can still include it on the list. So like
I
we've
feel
heard,
like we should put this year's on there just because, like,
but
Crimes of Fashion, I feel like that can be added to our list. Like,
yeah, but
how well does it stack up against the others?
really?
I
But
think so.
then
We haven't had any. What other
to
ones
keep it
besides that one have we had?
all of them. We can go
Well,
the
but this
Newport
year,
Gilded,
oh.
Crime Time.
Yeah, I think we should add those on. We're
All
discussing
right.
this live on
Why am I
air.
going brain dead on Nikki's, the one she wrote? Not Crime Story.
True Justice.
True Justice.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yes,
think we
like-
should add those to there because I feel like those are, I mean, those
And-
all have a shot of being renewed. Because some of the ones, otherwise we don't have a ton
Okay.
to go through.
Well, then
So
we're
I think we
doing,
should add them.
all right, then we're doing top 10.
Yeah,
And they don't
I
have
think
to, we don't
so.
have to go very, we don't have to go very deep in the whole things, but our top 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
that's
you guys
what
let us
we'll
know
do this
too.
year.
Send us a DM. What are your top 3? That will be a good thing to share on what our fan corner is, and say what your top 3 movies that you would like to see more of. I think that would be kind of fun to kind of keep track of all that.
Starting with Cut Color and running through.
Haunted Harmony, starting with Haunted Harmony.
No, Cut Color.
Haunted Harmony.
No, I'm talking chronological, time-wise.
Oh,
not
I'm just
ranking.
talking about
Yes, yes.
top
I'm
one.
saying going back from Cut Color through so the most recent would be Crimes of Fashion, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of new, 2 that would not be in this list are the Family Practice Mysteries,
Correct.
as well as, which we just got a little thing of like, oh, what's the other May mystery going to be? And it's kind of weird, but Tip Line, which is coming out on the app in May, but it is going to be aired on the network in June. So there still is that hole in May.
And I've had people kind of send me DMs. So like, do you think it's going to be on regular Hallmark? I'm assuming they're going to put that
It is.
on.
It's announced June 7th, I think.
That's what I said, because people were wondering, do I need to get the app just to watch this? And I said, no, I would hold off. I'm sure they'll put it on there. I find it interesting that they're doing this. So, they've done this now for a few different movies of putting it on the app first and then releasing it. I don't know why. Like, why do you think?
I think maybe just to get people signing up for the app and.
But then if they air it on the channel, who cares, right? Like,
I don't know.
I can wait.
You don't know. Maybe other people can't, because once again, I will be watching this on the app. And the reason
I have
is,
the app, so I will be watching it.
The reason is what they should do is do like the director cut where they don't have to maintain that hour 24 in the app. From what I heard, and to be honest, I did not go back, but Rescuing Christmas, I heard the reason that was on the app is that was actually too long for TV. I don't know if it's true or not. Some of the scuttlebutt we heard. But
also, breaking news for today, the streaming. So also going to be on the app starting as this today, May 2nd. Family Practice Mysteries Coming Home. It's going to be on the app first before May 17th. So
Oh, wait,
me and
it's
you,
going to be on the app too?
that's what the Hallmark, that's what my app shows, that
Wow.
it's on Hallmark Movies now. So just a heads up for those who want to stream it or have the streamer, like I'm going to stream this probably then tonight.
Interesting. By the way, today's
Yeah.
May 1st, not May 2nd.
Well, I know, but as this drops, like people
Oh,
are
but
going to be
also, I
listening
guess
on May
people are
2nd.
listening. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Wow. You're so
Yeah.
smart. That's why I
Tease
have
it
you
out,
on.
Eric.
I
Tease
have
it
you on
out.
here to raise the
Raise the
intellect of it.
dates.
So, but hey, this tip line, as I mentioned before, I'm going to read you the little thing. Maddie Moore, played by Roden, is a concierge at a hotel in Detroit, Michigan, who moonlights at the Detroit Free Press. Little known fact, that was the paper that one of my good friends was the paper boy for. So I always, whenever he went on vacation, I had to take over and deliver. I was never a full-time paper boy, but back when kids did it and it wasn't like the 50-year-old dude driving around in his car and you actually rode your bike with a little bag and full of papers. I did the Detroit Free Press. In fact, I had the Detroit Free Press when the Tigers won the World Series in 1984 still, but Detroit Free Press means a lot to me because I am from Detroit. But as I just do a whole big thing and everyone forgets what we're talking about, I'll start again. Maddie Moore is a concierge at a hotel in Detroit, Michigan, who moonlights at the Detroit Free Press in their tip line department. Most nights, calls run anywhere from alien sightings to lost cats. One night, however, Maddie receives a cryptic call warning of a jewelry heist. When Maddie brings it to the place, she finds her usual complacent contact has retired and has been replaced by newly promoted Detective Beeks, played by Chris McNally. Unfortunately, despite his stellar reputation as an officer, Detective Beeks doesn't take Maddie's anonymous tips any more seriously than a predecessor. And then it goes on and on and on. But
Wow.
there you go. That's the gist of it.
Now, according to you, the longer the description, the worse the movie. So this could
Well,
be
this
a
is
horrible movie.
the Hallmark. This is the Hallmark press release.
Okay,
So I'm
okay.
sure, yeah. So this is on the media site. So
Gotcha.
I'm sure that the little one that they give us
It
to
won't be this
read,
long.
yeah, because this goes.
On and on.
I read the first, I don't know, third. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah, that would never make it an IMDb kind of thing. But fascinating that this is on the app too. I wish, time machine, go back and then we had Lisa Hamilton Daly
I
there that we could
know.
have asked that question. We didn't ask about, we asked about the channel, but not about the app.
No.
Fascinating.
I thought of that too when they keep doing this. I was like, shoot, we could have been a good question.
You know what I'll do? I'll send a message over, see if they respond to just asking questions. Georgia also tends to get some good insight. She's got some good contacts over there. Maybe she can find out a little bit of that bigger picture strategy. I mean, they're a business. They know what they're doing. You know, it goes back to they don't cancel Mystery 101 unless they have a darn good reason, right?
100%.
There's a reason why they're doing what they're doing.
Totally.
So we just don't know what it is. But so that's exciting. I mean, it's May 2nd, and we still don't know how the month fills out unless it is the 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a ghost,
I think it is.
which just aired on the Hallmark channel.
I mean,
like
that's
a
what they're
week ago.
doing. I'm sure this is it. Like that's 3, in quotations, new movies that they're dropping. I'm guessing numbers wise, May is probably not a huge month for them. I mean, graduation, proms, people are here in the Midwest, like people are outside more. So my guess
May's
is
like a
numbers
sweeps
aren't.
month though. So that's usually when you get all the good stuff coming out.
What great Hallmark movie came out in May that you can remember?
I don't know, but like I said, just like if you like TV in general, May's one of the
It's
the
the NBA playoffs. We're busy cheering on the Minnesota Timberwolves over here.
You're not cheering on
Wolves.
You're not cheering on the Phoenix Suns.
No, we just beat you. So
I know.
Woo!
Clean sweep.
Woo!
So
that's how we'll end it because I am stoked. If anyone is a basketball fan or not, Cheer for these Minnesota Timberwolves. We have been waiting 20 years. That is my other passion, is my Wolves. Go Wolves.
All right. We'll see if they disappear and we have to do
No!
case on that one. All right. Well,
All right.
enjoy your day, Andrew.
Go Wolves.